Hi all, welcome to another episode of Data Never Lie, the video podcast, a place where we can talk about data, analytics, marketing, and much more. Today, I'm honored and pleased to have with us Juliana Jackson. She is in digital marketing for 15 years, and she's done everything besides SEO. And then she decided to stick with digital analytics and experimentation. Welcome, Juliana. It's an honor to have you.
So happy to be here. I was very jealous when Steen was promoting the episode with you, and I was like, wow. And every time I feel like Steen is like 10 steps ahead of me, so I'm always trying to catch up with him and maybe one day, defeat you, Steen, if you're listening to this.
I know, but we deserve the best at the end.
Exactly, Steen. Did you hear that?
Okay, Steen joking, no, not at all. Okay.
Afterwards, what did you say, Juliana?
Okay. So again, thanks to be here, and we can start with the first, I'm gonna say, hot and spicy question. CRO, is dead, alive, or is a zombie?
Like this is the best way to start a podcast, to start with a very controversial thing. Well, I don't want to sound like Tan Westerling, who is known also as the Antichrist of CRO. But I think CRO as a function is very hard to. I guess if you think about conversion rate optimization, you have to think about what is it really? Is it just like a whole project? Is it an industry? Is it a task? Or is it just a process? So I always like to think that CRO is just something that you do as part of the project, is like optimizing conversion rate. Think about it. If we were to focus all our efforts in the data team or the product team or the marketing team just to increase conversion rate optimization, how limited and isolated our growth would be. So I think in a way, all this conversation is about CRO being dead is just conversation about how do we rename this practice that has in mind improving the user experience, the customer satisfaction, the customer lifetime value. How do we name this to be encompassing of all the work we do and not just be related to how to optimize a single sole metric, which is conversion rate? Which also, if you think about it, Enrico, is like, what is conversion rate? Conversion rate can be a very different thing for so many people. So a very long-winded answer, CRO is probably never going to be dead because we are keeping it alive. But the function of performing website and app optimization needs serious work in terms of how is it structured in organizations, do people have access to this type of knowledge. And mostly right now it lives under the name of experimentation, and I've seen it from my practice that it lives in the product teams, not in the marketing teams, which I think it's a good thing from where I look at it, because product teams have more of a, I guess, data thirst than marketing teams. Marketing teams, I'm not saying marketers are not data driven, but I think product people have a more openness to understand, like what's the purpose of data collection, how are we collecting data. They think about privacy, they think about the implementation, they think about the tech stack. So I do love that experimentation or CRO lives in there. But as an industry, we all need to spend enough time to structure this approach and really define what it really matters. I hope that was a good answer. I think very long-winded. I should have said it depends.
Yeah, the best answer is it depends, but
It depends.
you made the point because we need to move our focus from the I can say optimize the metrics.
About, yeah, it's if you think about it, A/B testing is considered like the same thing as conversion optimization, and that's wrong,
Yeah,
because A/B testing is just a task. It's one thing you can do and you cut off the list. Is I always like to say, and this is something that I did steal from Ton Wesseling, is that we are all in the industry of better decision making. So we need to focus our efforts into understanding data and having data literacy to be able to make better decisions. That's the industry we're in, better decision making.
yeah, absolutely. I think we need, but the industry need to focus on how can I say a framework, not only on a little piece of the puzzle. Because every time we talk about this conversion rate optimization or whatever you want to call it, we are focused only to a little piece of the puzzle. As you said, the A/B testing, the marketing,
It's
automated
so much
automations as well.
more. It's so much more. And a good example that I can give, if you want here, because I know you're editing this, if you want. It's something that I think about a lot in product teams. You have the developers, you have the UX, you have the design. I speak about this a lot. I just recently started working on this. So is this space where you come as a strategist, but you have to talk to people that have other disciplines than you. They don't come with the data that you have. They in product teams, the biggest metric for them is rolling out features fast as possible. They don't really care about how users necessarily react to those features, because for them it's a very small trade-off. They need to deliver. They constantly need to deliver. So if you come as a CRO strategist or experimentation strategist and throw at them data, and you throw statistics at them and p-values and powers, those people have no idea and don't care about what you have to say, because it doesn't fit with their reality. So if it's something that we need to do better in the CRO or experimentation industry, is to spend time understanding the roles and caveats and limitations of all the people in the product team and what success means for them. And then having that data from the product team and how they work, we need to map it back to the business goal. So it's basically harmonizing team dynamics with business outcomes. So that's kind of like where I see conversion rate optimization or experimentation evolving.
100%. Yeah, sure. Now, taking the rocket and go to the moon. Everything today is artificial intelligence, or
Yeah.
better, artificial intelligence equal ChatGPT.
Oh God, yes, it's so annoying.
It's annoying, but what's your thought about artificial intelligence and its role in digital marketing?
Cool. I like this question. I recently started writing more about this. I have this article called Introduction to Natural Language Processing and its Business Application. And this provides like a very good, I like to think that it's a very good history to AI. But what I'm trying to say here is that AI has been around since the 1940s, right? And if you want like the first movement of AI, is this paper that Alan Turing
Mhm.
wrote called "Can Machines Think Like Humans?" So this is in the 40s, guys. Like AI has been around for so many years, and it's not something new. And I think one of the most significant moments that I speak about in my article of AI is when there was this IBM computer defeating a chess champion in the 90s. And it was a bot. It was a bot that IBM created that defeated the world champions in chess. So that's a huge AI moment that was in the 90s. So all this stuff exists. I do think that right now, because of OpenAI's work and bringing ChatGPT, generative AI
Mhm.
further, which is something newer than what AI, is known for, is it has made it so mainstream that everyone can access it. Like you just literally have to go and Google ChatGPT and you can ask a question in a second, right? So because it's so mainstream and it's so easy and to use it, people think that that's all there is. That is AI, but AI goes so much back. Even things like data analysis require AI, because AI is all encompassing of machine learning, of deep learning, of generative AI. So we are already using this for a long time. All the data analysis that we do, prefetch, I don't know, predictive analytics, all this stuff uses AI. That's what it is. It's just generative AI is just a function of it. It's just one part of a much bigger picture. So I'm like tongue in cheek right now with everything in digital marketing, is because marketers don't have the foundational knowledge and they're just chasing to
Yep.
do the next thing, and it's fine. I mean, I get it. I'm a marketer myself, and I always get excited. For example, when they just announced that they're gonna have the agent, I was like, fuck, I'm gonna create my own UX research agent. I don't need to do this, because UX research takes so long, and it's so many principles that you need to know and have in your head. So I was excited. But at the same time, if you don't have the basics and the foundations of anything in the world, it's very hard to make it scale for you and work for you on the long term. Sure, You can create a nice blog article and position your product, or you can change your copy on the website, and you think, oh my God, I used AI for this. No, you didn't. It's just one small, it's like a little rice, like, I don't know how to say it in English, but little piece of rice in a very big ocean. The
Yeah.
fact that you can ask ChatGPT how to post on LinkedIn this particular article, like it's so much more than that. So I'm a bit pissed off, but it's fine. I mean, it's good that people adopt it. It's good that people talk about it. But for everyone that's listening and it's interested in learning more, this goes back so long and it's so interesting. And the moment you spend a bit of time just learning about this topic, you would see that you might even have used AI in your day-to-day work already, and you didn't even know that it's called AI.
Yeah. Totally agree. And for you guys that you are watching the video, I will put the link for the Juliana article because it's very interesting in the description. Read it and tell me what you think about that. You mentioned that MPL is something that is never known, I think. If I ask 100 marketers at the moment, maybe one or two could ask me what is an MPL. I don't want to a disseminate of NPL, but in short terms, how could it help business for a marketers?
I love this question. And yes, so everyone that's listening, we're talking about natural language processing. To define what natural language processing, we have to start from the bottom. Like, what is natural language? Well, natural language is just the language that we use to speak to each other. Like, I could speak to Enrico in English or in my very bad Italian or whatever to express my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas. So, the natural language, the language that we speak, involves words, grammar, but also it involves cultural, social, economical context. Why does it contain the stuff? To convey meaning. So it's nuances to the way I can say, fuck, I'm so sad, but also can say, fuck, this is great. Like, it's about how we position. I chose a very profane word to express this, but
It's not
it's
a problem.
what we're not judging here. It's who I am. So this is natural language, right? But what natural language processing, though, this is a field that helps computers understand, interpret, and generate human language, right? So it's basically NLP takes human language, dissects it, and is able to determine what is the sentiment conveyed in the text, what is the context, what are, I guess, I don't know, different nuances that we want to do. So let's put it in very simple terms in a business context. Let's imagine, I don't know, let's think about, we in Europe, we use Glovo as an app to order food, a delivery app. Everyone in Europe knows it. For US, if you're in US, you can think about Uber Eats. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So let's imagine that you are a marketer and you're working on Glovo and you want to improve the marketing, you want to improve retention. So Glovo, as any other app, will have customer reviews and testimonials about, how is the experience of using it. But imagine you have 100,000 reviews from all over Europe, maybe 500,000, because Glovo is used widely. How are you able to go through these reviews and get the sentiment that users have about using the app, but also some context, like what are the things that they like versus things that don't like? This is where NLP helps, because NLP is able, obviously there's a process to it, but in simple terms, you can use natural language processing to process huge amounts of reviews data and transform it from unstructured data, because a review is it's a type of unstructured data, to structured data. So for instance, let's say you analyze 100,000 reviews, you can figure out what percentage of all these users have a negative sentiment or a positive sentiment or a neutral one towards your brand, towards your brand or your app, because the natural language is able to detect that in the written text. That's how it's trained, the model, to detect it. And then if you want to do even more complex stuff and you're curious just like me, you can do something like zero shot classification. And I speak in depth because this can become very nerdy very very soon, but you can find more about that and how to play with it in my article and a demo. It's you can actually find specific stuff. So I always like to give this Amazon example that there's a user that speaks about the Apple
Podcast, yeah. Mhm.
headphones, the buds. So in it says what's good, what's bad, but what can be better. So you can detect the sentiment being either neutral, positive, or negative, but you can also see that the model detects issues with noise canceling, with Bluetooth, with connection. So imagine if you have this type of knowledge from 500,000 reviews, how easy it's going to be for you as a marketer or a product person to prioritize your backlog, to prioritize your experiments, to prioritize your releases,
Yeah.
because you will basically build a compass from the voice of the customer of things that you need to do. So it's going to make your life so much easier because you can build a strategy or strategies that are in tandem with the customer voice and needs. And obviously when you do that listening, the social listening, you empower yourself to make better decisions. So that's what NLP helps. And this is not just the only thing you can do. Think about, I will give you another example. Think about Search Console. Like and you might like this because I know in Italy they love SEO so much. I know that from experience. So imagine you have a search. Let's say you are an e-commerce company,
Mhm.
and you have your search console. You sell so many products, but before somebody converts to you, they will do research on your product. So they will search for you in different ways. Imagine you have millions of keywords of how people research you. You don't know exactly what are the negative, positive keywords, what are the keywords that convert. But imagine you take all that data from your search console and put it into Google Cloud, and then use the natural language processing in that's available also as a service in the Google Cloud, and then you're able to analyze how people search for you. Then you will know what type of anxieties and frustrations people have before they reach your website. So then based on that information, you can optimize the landing pages, you can optimize the way you target, you can optimize the copy in the ads, because you know what are the fears that people have before they convert. So there's no limit. NLP doesn't work, natural language processing doesn't work just with written text. It also works with images, with social media comments, with videos. Anything can be processed. So it's just a process of transforming unstructured data to structured data,
Yeah.
and to give you more insights. So if you right now are using GA4 with BigQuery, and you should, it's no brainer to go in the Google Cloud, stores, and see this NLP product and connect it to your search console. And you can do this right away, and it's peanuts. It's probably something like 20, 30 euros to do a small sample. So it's something you can do right now. It is that intuitive, and I love this about I'm not shilling for Google, for whoever is listening. I'm not shilling for them, but I do like the fact that the offerings and the apps that they have in the store and products can really help marketers.
Yeah. Everything is connected. If you use the Google ecosystem, you just try it because you have data coming from J4, BigQuery, whatever you want. The cloud
Why
is,
not?
yeah, try. Isn't,
Imagine, like, how people get mad because their Looker dashboards are boring and nobody cares about user engagement. But okay, fine. But what if you add to your normal dashboards this one page where you talk about, negative and positive keywords, about, like the type of how feelings people have. Imagine, like, this would queue and be more easy to sell to stakeholders than actual, conversions and funnels and whatever, because they don't know how to read that. So this is a way for you to empower your client
yeah,
to make better decisions by showing this qualitative aspect of data.
yeah, absolutely. And coming down to earth,
Yes,
because we talk about AI and
I'm
LP.
very passionate, Enrico, about the
Yeah,
topic, as
but
you can see.
it's not a pity. It's very good for me and for us. What do you think about the state of the art of digital marketing?
Oh, we're in trouble so much right now. I love it. It's so this is just like a spoiler alert. We recorded already the last episode of Standard Deviation podcast, and we were talking about this with Charles Farina and with Simo and my podcast. And I want to say it here too. I feel that at this point in time, when technology is already like moving faster than ever, because
Mhm.
it is, and we see how shit develops every single day. Like, you just have to, pay attention. Besides the classic things that you can do to keep up with the trends and know knowledge and events and whatnot, as a digital marketer, if you don't invest time into your technical skills right now, it's gonna be a very hard field to survive in the next few years. I'm not saying you need to learn JavaScript and Python. I'm saying that you need to be able to read a SQL query. You need to be able to read some code. You don't have to code. And of course, you can say, I'm gonna use ChatGPT. You can, for sure you can. But how do you know if the answer that ChatGPT provides is correct or wrong or wrong? So what I suggest digital marketers to do right now, if they do like this field, they want to continue to be in this field, is spend time learning the basic and the foundations of data collection, of obviously how a browser works, like the most basic stuff. How does a browser work? What's server side? What's client side? What is JavaScript? What is SQL? Very basic stuff. An introduction to statistics, an introduction to machine learning. You don't need to be an expert, but you need to be able to join the conversations, because AI is going to be the narrative that's going to be driven by agencies, by vendors, by everyone. So you can talk about your new bot for sure, and you can try to sell it, but you cannot effectively grow in your career if you don't have technical skills. So it's going to be very, very hard to play the I'm not technical card anymore in digital marketing.
Yeah, and related to your answer, I think by our side that the introduction of BigQuery in GA4 is something that elevate the grade to understand what we are going to do with the data. And what do you think about this type of thing? It is something that is not related to, I'm going to say, one man show, as for example, I can do paid, I can do SEO, I can do analytics. Now I think you have to move your career or your organization to a vertical data analyst that know everything. What do you thought about the connection between GA4, BigQuery, that move for all?
So I love the question. Let's start with the positive part. So the positive part is, yes, we're complaining about UAGA for whatever. I'm over it. What we need to think about is the opportunity that this brings. The opportunity is that now cloud, compute, SQL, all of these things are mainstream thanks to GA4. If it wasn't for this forced, I agree, it's a forced migration, and I can say that with taking responsibility, it was a forced migration. However, nobody is forcing nobody with the gun on their head to say, hey, use GA4 right now, otherwise it's over. But the good thing that came from this is the door that are open to the Google Cloud and to cloud. Then this is an amazing learning opportunity for marketers and for analysts as well, or for people that were just doing technical implementation. Why? Because it teaches you critical thinking. Critical thinking is one of the most sought after skills. So I'm not saying you need to become a SQL developer or a SQL expert, but to learn just the basic SQL. And if you already know JavaScript, or if you already know CSS, SQL is just like a walk in the park. It's just, what I think this brings to the marketing community and analytics community is better questions. We are gonna ask better questions, because that's what SQL is. It's just a question. It's like it's basically you're asking questions from the data. That's why it's a query, right? It's a conversational programming language. So the more we spend time understanding SQL and understanding the logic behind this type of programming language, the better questions we will have as marketers and as analysts. So the positive thing is that indeed forced whatever drama, blah, blah, this is a good thing for the community. And now it's going to be interesting. I don't agree with people
Mhm.
that go on social media. I'm not gonna name names, but I don't agree with people that say, "Oh, you don't need to learn SQL. Just use ChatGPT and do BigQuery and GA4." Oh, I don't need to be an expert. Like, nobody's saying that people should be experts in SQL, but please, for the love of what's good, if you are trying to go into the GA4 BigQuery game, learn a bit of SQL, because BigQuery is just an interface. It's the same, like if I remember somebody said that I need to do a BigQuery course. It will take 10 minutes to walk somebody through the interface of BigQuery and to learn like where to click. But the actual value is to understand the logic behind SQL. It's exactly like ChatGPT and OpenAI. For sure, you can use ChatGPT to generate anything, but how do you know if it's right or wrong? So we need foundation. So I don't agree with people that come up with this type of hot takes and say, you never need to learn SQL or a line of SQL to do this. You just need to know BigQuery. BigQuery takes 10 minutes to learn. We're all smart people in this industry. Like, how hard is the interface to deal with? We've seen harder shit in our past, right? Like let's think about Urchin. Like we've seen shit, right? For anyone knowing the joke, I still use Urchin 7. But what I'm saying is, spend some time learning the basics, spend some time there's a very good introduction to SQL course on Data Camp. It's very cheap, especially now on Black Friday. I don't have any relationship with them, but I did take that course for myself, and it's very good. And if you take this basic SQL course, you can still use ChatGPT to write your queries. You can still use query builders, but you will be able to determine if a query is right or wrong. So I think for the community and for the industry, it's an amazing time because it pushes us into the right direction of asking better questions, of critical thinking, and just rethinking the way we collect all this useless amounts of data. And we do what with it? We do nothing with the data. We just collect data and let it die. And even right now, like we're so freaking excited about, oh, look at our BigQuery experts. What do you do with this data? So that's why I want to encourage everyone to take a basic SQL course. I will send you the link of this introductory course, which is just like exercise stuff, and even free code camp. Like it's free. Take this course and then determine with your mind what is the value of a query, what is the value of the business questions you're asking from the data. And Simo said something very famous that for me it's famous in 2000 and something, when he was still working at Reactor. Mm-hmm. And then I challenged him about this in the podcast, and when I was doing it on my own, and he said something that we all should stop outsourcing our thought processes to tools. We need to stop doing that as an industry. Like tools are great, but they're just a boat that takes you from A to B. Exactly. The thinking that cannot be borrowed and outsourced to tools, because otherwise we're never going to grow. That's my thought. Like it's good and bad parts for any type of market switch, but please don't listen to people that just tell you need to learn BigQuery and GA4. Spend some time, just a week. Just do a basic SQL course. You're gonna thank me. You're gonna come to me on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, Juliana, I listened to you on Enrico's podcast, and you were right. Now I can ask better questions from the builder."
But is the fil rouge for every type of I'm gonna say post that I saw in the social media, like you can use this tool to query on it or to grab the information, but as one of our I'm gonna say pillars is people tools doesn't solve a problem, people do.
Exactly.
So it's something that I'm totally agree, because maybe you can ask ChatGPT to create a query, but you have to, first of all, have in mind what type of business you want to extract from your data, and two, the query that ChatGPT or whatever you want to use is give to you is you can optimize this query.
Exactly. And how do you optimize it? So think about, like, if you don't know concepts like subqueries or joins or case when do you use, or cast, or all these functions that you use, you don't need to be a SQL developer or SQL whatever expert, but know the basics of these formulas, know the basic formulas, know the basic, like commands that you have. Like, for instance, you can write on ChatGPT and can give you the longest subquery you can use in your life. And sometimes you realize that you don't need all those subqueries, and those are the ones making your billing go from £5 to £5,000. So if you don't know how to optimize it, because you don't know where the problem is, because you don't know what is that component or that command. You're just going to be somebody that's just loud on social media about, I'm sorry, I'm going at it. They're going to be just somebody on social media that just, talks without having any type of foundation to their claims.
Yeah. And last question. Sorry, but not sorry. Where can we hear from you?
Well, if you still want to hear from me after listening to this amazing episode, you can find me on LinkedIn. I post most of my thoughts there. I'm at Juliana Jackson, or you can go to juliana-jackson.com. I have a little blog. I call it the technical marketing blog, and I don't have a cadence, but I try to write every 2 months an article, and most of my articles are very like guide type of, very like serious things to teach you how to do something. And I also do a podcast called Standard Deviation Podcast. I started it on my own 2 years ago, but this year I started doing it with Simo, and we're still doing it together next year. So if you haven't, listened to it before or checked it out, go for it. It's our little podcast, and we talk about everything digital analytics, and it's fun. I've been told we're fun.
Confirm. It's very fun, and I will put the link on the description, and maybe when we talk about this podcast, if we don't need to remove certain type of parts of the podcast. Joking. Juliana, thanks again for your time and to be here. It's very funny to talk with you, and it's very interesting what you said related to AI and how people can start a new path into the analytics and digital marketing careers. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
For you guys, stay tuned for another episode of Data Never Lie, the podcast related to marketing, analytics, and much more. Bye.